Welcome to the Nest Podcast, your weekly home for sports news, video game reviews, and hot takes with your hosts, Brandon, Zach, and Justin. Enjoy the show.
What is up, and welcome to the Nest Podcast, episode 100, presented by Sportszilla. I'm your host, Brandon. Joining me are my co-hosts, Zach and Justin, via location. Justin, where are you at, buddy?
I am currently on the beach at Surfside. We can't do anything, and we've been stuck in the room, but we've been grilling out food and not having to worry about going anywhere is pretty sweet, really, when you consider it.
Nice and relaxing.
It's been beautiful.
It's a staycation at home, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I want to apologize to everybody. I had brought my computer and everything. I couldn't. My AirPods, for some reason, won't connect. I didn't bring any backup, so if I leave early, I couldn't miss this episode. So I had to at least come on and for a little bit, and I'll let Brandon tell you why that is.
Well, it's episode 100. It's a pretty significant milestone for such a small little podcast. So we're happy that we have reached that milestone and plan to just keep on going. Or, I mean, maybe we could just pull a big switcheroo and change it all up and just start back over at one and start, naming off our sports heroes all over again. What do you think?
How about season 2, episode 1 next week?
But we're that's weird because now we're almost at our year 2 anniversary, so it'd really be kind of like season 3 that we're starting. So I don't know. We'll just keep counting. We'll just say 101, 102, and then so on.
Makes it easy.
Yep, makes it easy. We're here every Monday night, so people are gonna know that. I'm sick and tired of looking up all these people that most of us have never heard of anyway for a sports athlete. So we'll just keep progressing. No big deal. How was you guys' 4th of July?
Pretty chill. Mine was just hanging out.
Justin, I know you were posting a lot of pictures there on the beach of some fireworks. That looked pretty badass.
Yeah, they didn't quit. The cops came down there about 12:30 and was trying to get everybody to quit. But as soon as he would drive past, and go to the next person, the people behind him were shooting them off. So they didn't really quit till about 2 a.m, man, nonstop, both sides, everywhere you could look. So it was pretty sweet. Wow.
Yeah, that sounds about like Myrtle Beach area. So good luck. I'm sure it'll be like that the entire week. One of the things that did happen on the 4th of July weekend in the sports world is that Joey Chestnut defended his crown and put up arguably the most impressive sports resume of all time. I know it was a debate that was being waged in the message boards there on Sportszilla all weekend, and a lot of you guys are in favor of go ahead and declaring Joey Chestnut the GOAT of GOATs as far as winning the most championships and stuff. What do you guys think? Is eating 75 hot dogs a sport?
It's something. I mean,
it is something. That's true.
You got to think of it this way. These guys don't just show up and pound out 75 hot dogs.
No.
They put in the work. They practice for months. They eat huge quantities of food, then they don't eat. So they prepare. Therefore, Joey Chestnut is an athlete.
Yeah. I tend to agree with Allison that it is gross. It is very gross. But Joey Chestnut can drink 12 pints of beer in 67 seconds. So
yeah, that's wild.
The man can do amazing things with his guts.
Yep. One of the other guys that's a competitive eater named Matt Stoney has a pretty successful YouTube channel where he eats ridiculous stuff, and I watch him every now and then. And he has said before that unless he's doing his competitive eating, he has a very strict, healthy diet. And I'm sure that's just to combat the ridiculous amount of food that he eats for the competitions. And I would imagine that's the same for all of them, because it's not like they're giant, fat, disgusting people. They're pretty average looking.
Yeah, for the most part.
That's what's weird is you would think that, like, hey, I'll take the big guy. He's going to kill it. But it's always the little guy that's in shape that wins every year. And before Joey Chestnut, it was that Kiyoshi or
yes,
What's his
Kobayashi.
name?
Yep.
Yeah, Kobayashi, and he was like 110 pounds.
Yep.
Yeah. He destroyed some hot
I mean,
dogs.
that's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Imagine being that Joey Chestnut, like what, 15 years ago or whatever, and being like, I think I can do this. I'm going to start training to be the world's best hot dog eater. Whatever, man. I guess you're right, though. He did train, and he is doing impressive things. Have you guys heard that the NFL has already canceled the Hall of Fame game and the preseason?
Yeah.
At least 2 games. The players want to cancel the whole preseason.
Yep. And I think it's going to happen too.
Yeah, why is that?
I mean, I just think that if we're trying to mitigate the exposure and mitigate all that stuff, then it only makes sense to cancel the preseason. I think teams are going to have their training camps, and that's where they're going to get their reps in and their practices in, and then we're just going to go live. I mean, everything is so up in the air right now that I think lessening the chances of some sort of outbreak is for the better for everybody. If we can just get right to the nitty gritty, then that's a good idea, in my opinion.
Justin, what do you think? Do you think they should at least run a couple of these preseason games so that we can get a good look at, guy number 49, 50, 51 on the rosters?
I mean, right, I think it's necessary to run at least one because that's how they make their final cut. They got to see what these guys do in live action. I mean, there's a big difference between practice squad versus, real-time football games. So there needs to be that one. You won't see none of the starters playing. Canceling those 2 out, you're already canceling the chance of seeing any big star play in those 2 preseason games. But I think for the franchise and for these guys that are kind of on the cusp, they need those 1 or 2 preseason games to show them what they got. So, and I know that if NFL gets canceled, then my daughter's 8th grade year of basketball gets canceled, and it's just seems like it snowballs, man. And I'm just tired of missing everything, to be honest with you.
I think if they do get rid of the preseason as a whole, those guys on the fringe of making the teams won't necessarily be totally screwed, because I think if there are some players that do test positive and they have to drop out for X amount of time, then those guys will get a slot and they'll be able to prove themselves down the line.
Sure, almost like a taxi league or a secondary league somewhere that can hold the reserve players and pick and choose next man up. And I think that's what we're going to see a lot this season. Of course, looking at the preseason in general, the players don't want to play it anyway. It's been well documented that the NFL players do not like the preseason because they don't get paid for those games. They only get paid for actual games. The owners are raking in money for preseason games because guess what? Concessions aren't free. They're still raking in that plus TV revenue. That's all going to the owners.
Yeah. And I bet you now that's probably the deciding factor, because the owners aren't going to be making any money off of these preseason games. So they're going to be on board to scrap them too.
Yeah. I guess it may come down to a player vote because of the health and safety issues and all that stuff. And if it comes down to the vote, I look for the players to vote not to play any preseason games and just do, their reps in practice, do X amount of days with helmets, X amount of day full pads, do light practices, with their first class offense versus first defense. And then, hey, we're ready for week 1. Let's run this shit.
Yep.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. A lot of things are going to be changed. We already know that the Hall of Fame game got canceled. I think they should just go ahead and change that and kind of combine that with the Pro Bowl. That should be a permanent move in the future. That way you can have your Hall of Fame inductees there at the Pro Bowl, add a little spice, add a little flavor to that game. And then you could also have those recent Hall of Fame inductees maybe at the coin toss for the Super Bowl. It's the perfect way to really get them recognition for a career's worth of work.
Yeah, and plus it makes the Pro Bowl worthwhile watching because
Exactly.
it's not after the season where everyone's all busted and bruised and they just want to go on vacation. It's at the beginning of the season where everyone's fresh and everyone's looking to
Well,
get going
I
again.
think it still needs to be in the same place as it is because
do you?
yeah, I don't think any team would willingly want their players to play in a Pro Bowl game prior to the start of a brand new season.
I guess that's a good point.
You know, they're coming out of an off season and then now they've got to play this exhibition game where they could get injured and then not even be ready for the season.
Yeah, man, it's hard to make that game worthwhile because either it doesn't mean anything and no one tries, or you don't want to put your best players out there to potentially get hurt.
That's why I think including the Hall of Fame induction and all that stuff into the Pro Bowl, that's the way to go. And then the Hall of Fame game is basically just an extra preseason game anyway. So that's just another way for some of those owners to collect a little bit of extra money. Who cares?
Right.
Make that induction ceremony in an event that you're actually trying to promote. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. One thing I do know for sure, though, is I am all on board the Cam Newton hype train. I've been texting you guys this week like, man, I can't wait to see them running this offense with Edelman and Harry out there because I've been thinking about it. The biggest thing that the Patriots were struggling with last season offensively was the wide receivers' ability to create separation. The reason for that isn't because, these guys are just crappy wide receivers. It's not because they don't have the elite speed that wide receivers need. It's because the defenses didn't have to respect Tom Brady's ability to get out of the pocket.
Yep.
So they could play a much tighter defense in that secondary. This year, even with a 80% Cam Newton, you have to respect his ability to run.
Yeah.
And that's going to lead to a much different brand of New England football.
Yeah, that's wild. It's funny because for years it'd be, Tom Brady is the pocket passer and he doesn't literally do anything else. And so if you are like a linebacker or one of those guys and he does drop back, that tells you that you can go off and cover somebody or play zone or whatever your position is, and you don't have to worry about him at all. But now, like you said, with Cam, if he drops back, it's not over yet. He can do whatever he wants back there.
That RPO is.
I think the biggest thing.
Go ahead, Justin.
I think the biggest thing when it comes to Tom Brady, you can keep 8-man in the box or whatever you want to do, and you get them linebackers, they can play coverage, so you can play over the top on him. That's why you don't see no big bombs from Tom Brady. It's a lot of intermediate, a lot of, hitting the pocket, so to say. But with Cam, you got to keep at least one, if not two, linebackers in spy mode. So that makes the outsides playing single coverage, and that takes away the cloud coverage that you can play against Tom Brady. So,
yep.
And Bill Belichick took N'Keal Harry in the 2019 draft in the first round. A wide receiver taken by Bill Belichick is a big deal in the first round because he hardly ever does it. The kid's a 6'4", 6'5" wide receiver on the outside. He's got 4'4", 4'5" speed. He's going to be a threat now that he's going to be able to get one-on-one coverages. He's going to get a lot of man-to-man where he can burn, and he knows there's not going to be that safety or that linebacker that's shaded over to his side. Watch for the Patriots to be able to string together a lot of these long plays, but they're going to be able to push the offense with that run game.
For sure.
It'll be different.
Now, the thing that all Patriot fans, I guess, are sitting there kind of worried about is Cam Newton going to embrace the Patriot way? And he put out a hype video recently. And Zach, we talked about it, and we just didn't think that it would make for good air on here because the music in the background is so loud, and it's clear that he's in the gym just listening to the radio. Yeah. But what did you think of the message that Cam was trying to deliver there?
Yeah, it's he's definitely fired up, and you can tell he's very hungry. He basically says that they chose that over this, and what that means, I don't know. Maybe they chose Christian McCaffrey over him or whatever, but
or maybe it's you chose whatever quarterback you have on your team over me.
Right. And he goes on to say, that he's humble, but he's getting tired of it, and he's a monster and this and that and the other. And you can tell he's just fired up. And I think that's what you absolutely want out of Cam Newton is you want him very hungry. You want him ready to play. You want him with a chip on his shoulder, because I think for a while there, he was the man in Carolina, made it to a Super Bowl, couldn't make it happen. And then things just kind of started falling apart after that, for him, at least.
Yeah. Justin, what do you think? What do you think he's going about it the right way, putting out these hype videos, or is it going to be more detrimental in the long run?
I don't think it's going to be. I don't see nothing wrong with it. At the same time,
Okay.
I'm just kind of like, shut up and play. There's no need for hype videos and all this shit. Like, I'd rather just see him suit up, not say a damn word, and go out there and throw for 300 yards.
Okay, I'll
That's
remember
just the
that.
type of quarterback I want.
I'll remember that when the Falcons start releasing hype videos for the season, or when the Tennessee Vols are releasing hype videos for every week. I'll remember you said that you don't need hype videos, but I wanted to ask.
Tennessee Vols are different. I like the Tennessee Vols hype videos.
Okay, so it's just because you like it. Okay, I got you.
Bias.
I got you.
That's a team hype video.
Well, I think
that's not an individual player.
The reason Cam is doing this is because that's just the way that 2020 is, and just everything is now. If you don't have a social media following and a presence on social media, people don't pay attention to you. All of those young stars have some sort of social media that has a consistent flow of content, and that's what he's doing. He's just creating content videos for people to pay attention to him and make sure that they know that he is still relevant. And I at the end of the day, I get it. I mean, it's not like he's going out there saying this, that, and the other. He's just saying, I'm sick of being humble. I'm ready to do something about it.
And I'm for it. If that's how he gets pumped up, and that's what's going to lead him to have the success to be a starter and be a winning quarterback in the NFL, then I'm for it. As soon as he's not a winning quarterback in New England, though, that's the type of thing that's going to start bringing a lot of scrutiny and start drawing the ire from Patriot fans.
Right.
Because they're going to say he's spending too much time doing these hype videos, too much time doing all this, and not enough time studying the playbook. As long as he's winning, it's going to be okay. But as soon as the Patriots aren't a winning team, that's when it'll start being an issue. The common language is wins.
Yep.
So let's see. We talked about the Patriots. I do want to say, though, we in our intro song, it says something about video game updates and hot takes. It's very rare that we deliver a very stinging hot take on this show, but Justin alluded to it last year, and I'm going to go ahead and lock it in. I think by mid-season, by week 8, you're going to hear Cam Newton as an MVP candidate.
Yeah. Justin did say
that.
Justin said it last week, and I'm jumping on that bandwagon as well. I think he's going to be able to put up those type of numbers.
I can see that. I know Patrick Mahomes, he don't really have to have that drive he used to have, which we'll talk about later.
No, we can talk about that
forever.
Now. Ooh.
I mean, you're getting paid 10-year, $450 million. That kind of takes a little drive out. You don't have to do so much.
Was it 450?
Yeah, $450 million for 10 years.
There's been
weird 400 plus, but I didn't know that it was 450.
Well, there's been some weird numbers.
It was. I just looked it up for the podcast on the accredited source. It's 10-year, $450 million with 140 million guaranteed.
Yeah, and there's also some some money that's in some incentive. I wish I would have remembered the verbiage, but something to where if certain things in the contract aren't met, he gets this money. And if it is met, then they don't have to give him that money. But at the end of the day, it's at minimum $450 million.
Jeez Louise.
Which
That's
is
insane, right? Which
He
I
could
mean,
go out right now and break his leg and get a check for $140 million.
and
Right.
that's the thing. You know, I'm glad that the Kansas City Chiefs structured it that way because that protects them long term. If it was a straight up 10-year 450 and they were on the hook for say 375 million of that, then that would be a terrible deal because he would get hurt somewhere along the way. He's a mobile quarterback. He's been injured in the past couple of seasons. It's going to happen where he gets seriously injured. I don't see him playing out the length of this contract because it's an extension. So he's already got 2 more years left on the contract. So that's 12 years. He's not going to be in Kansas City that whole time.
And he, especially him being a mobile quarterback, as they all are these days, you hit the nail on the head. He will get injured. And I predict that he will miss an entire season at some point throughout this deal because that's just the nature of the beast. You run around like that, somebody's going to call your number and hit you.
Well, and Zach, you alluded to it in the text thread between us. They're going to pay him all this money. They're already paying Tyreek Hill all this money. They're trying to pay Kelsey all this money. Where are they going to start making cuts? Guess what? It's going to be on your defense. It's going to be on your offensive line. Mm-hmm. You're going to be banking on Patrick Mahomes to run around from these NFL tacklers way too much. And eventually he's going to get caught. Eventually he's going to land the wrong way.
Right.
That's the gamble you take whenever you pay these guys these huge contracts.
Who's that running back they have? It's a younger kid that's pretty good. I can't remember his name at all.
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
But anyway, I mean, I'm sure
anybody in the comments knows the Kansas City Chiefs running back. Go ahead and throw it up there, but
I'm sure he's gonna want some sort of contract eventually, and there's no room to pay him. The salary cap in 2020 moved up to somewhere right around 198 million, and he's going to be 40 million of that every single year.
Yeah.
So that's a huge chunk in one player. Now I get it. He came and just destroyed and set the world on fire and won a Super Bowl. But what if that's his last Super Bowl? What if that was it? And he goes off and gets hurt or whatever the case may be, or is just, they don't have enough money to give him weapons to be good anymore. And it's just another one of those things where he gets a shit ton of money to sit there and lose.
Aaron Rodgers won 1 Super Bowl a decade ago. Imagine if he had been paid $450 million over this past 10 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And you're thinking of Damian Williams, Zach.
Yep, that's him. Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, we
he's
got
young. You don't have to pay him for a few years.
We got the commenters coming in there. You didn't have to log off to go and check it, Justin. We got reliable fans.
Yeah, but I can tell you this though, like as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and I'm not talking about me, but I'm staying in this beach house with my brother-in-law Timmy, who's been a diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan for, like I have been a Falcons fan forever. And he's sitting here at the beach. There's Kansas City Chiefs hats hanging up everywhere. He's got trunks. He's got shirts. They're all over this place. And he was grilling out a few minutes ago after he heard about the contract. I ain't never seen somebody so happy. He was flipping that chicken, like dancing and singing. Like he was like because he knows he's got probably one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it locked up on his team for a long time. It might not be the full 12 years, but
yeah,
I got him for a while.
I'd be weary of being so excited about that because, I mean, look at all these teams that do that lock up these insane, huge contracts for their quarterbacks. It rarely ever pans out. I mean, the Patriots never paid Tom Brady worth a shit, and that's why he took off to go make his money at the end of his career. It doesn't work in the NFL.
It don't, and I can agree with that. But if it's going to work, Mahomes is one of the guys that's going to work with. He's a young, agile. Even when he gets hurt, he's only out for a short period of time.
Sure,
this time.
Right. I mean, he's still real young, so that definitely plays into that, being able to.
I would be happy as a fan like I said, when it's Julio Jones, man, that pumps me up. And I know Julio's been hurt and he's going to get hurt, but you don't have to ever worry about playing him on another team. And you know that every game that he suits up with, they have a chance to win. So
yeah, I mean, when you go out and win a Super Bowl in your third year in the league, you're going to make some money.
And an MVP the year before that.
Right.
So one of the big things that's been going on in society and now leaking into the NFL is that the football team there in Washington have been pushed to change their name. So they've got about 3 weeks before the season, and now we've got Nike and FedEx pulling out their sponsorships. Nike saying we're not going to print any jerseys unless you change the name. Are we going to see a new team there in Washington?
Just to add a little bit more fuel to that fire, the minority owners of the team are looking to sell because they don't feel that they want to be associated with that organization anymore. And there's 3 of them, and they together own about 40% of the team. And then the main majority owner, the single person, owns the rest of it. So, I mean, you've even got ownership that's saying, I don't want to be associated with this anymore.
I don't see that as that big of a deal, Zach, because I'm sure billionaires are sitting there just lining up ready to buy a football team.
But when's the last time that somebody was talking about selling their team just because people want them to change their name?
If you're an investor, then that's part of the contingency to buying the team is, hey, I'll be a new buyer, but we're changing the name, and I get part of the naming negotiation rights or whatever.
Yeah,
that's a non-issue to me. The big issue is Nike not going to print out anything because that's hitting the owners where it hurts. That's hitting them in the money. If you're not able to sell T-shirts with your logo on it, if you're not able to sell jerseys, hats, whatever, the team's not going to get new uniforms. That's where it's hitting the owner.
Yeah, I mean, this has been going on forever, dude.
Yeah. Yeah,
even the league even put out that episode where they went hunting. Remember, and they were talking about the Redskins, that they was at a bar with all the Indians, and then they chased them out with the guns or whatever, and they made them make that trade. I mean, what's the point of it's not going to end. It's only going to get worse. Why not just go ahead and make the name change? I mean, I just don't understand. Like I said, if it would just happen, I can understand thinking about it because, it's not something as easy to do as you would think because they've been the Redskins forever. But this is something that's been going on for years, dude, and it's only getting more pressure. I don't understand it at this point.
I think that's part of the problem is that that's been the name for years. But if you take a step back and put any other color in front of that, it makes it a little bit more difficult to stay, doesn't it? Yeah, and that's the problem. That's the problem there. So I don't think it's stupid at all. I think it makes perfect sense that that's the reason that it needs to be changed. I think they should get rid of Washington too and embrace DC. Right. Do something with DC. The initials DC something.
Mm-hmm. DC Defenders, baby.
Yeah, that's a cool name. DC United is a cool name.
Yeah. Washington Capitals for hockey. That's a great name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can call them whatever you want. They're still going to suck. So what's it matter?
Exactly.
Yeah. We're talking about a team that hasn't won or even came close to winning the NFC East in a decade. So who gives a shit?
Yep. And to make matters worse for that's not like they're in a hard division. They play the Giants, the Eagles, and the Cowboys. I mean, and they still are at the bottom of that barrel.
Yep.
See, now we got some interesting comments. We got Jerome saying, yes, the DC Warriors would be a good name. And I agree. That does sound cool. But then Allison brings up the point, once they change their name, would any other sports have to change it with the ripple effect, meaning any other teams with Native American imagery in their logos or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think that it is a dicey conversation and it is something that is a fine line. But
ultimately, Indians.
Ultimately, I think, there are some that are a little bit more derogatory than others. I think the words Redskins is offensive because it's specifically saying red skin If it were brown skin or yellow skin or something like that, white skin, people would have a freaking field day. So
What about the Browns?
The Browns, that's talking
Yeah.
about dogs.
Yeah, but that's not
Their mascot is a dog.
I know, but I think it's talking about brown skin. See what I mean? See what I did there?
I
Anybody
guess.
can associate anything with it.
Sure. Get a petition together and see if you can get it changed. The fact of the matter is, the Washington football team says red skin, and that's what's offensive.
I know.
But it does bring up a good point. Should the Cleveland Indians, the Chicago Blackhawks, the Warriors, the Kansas City Chiefs, that's all Native American references. And I think it's specifically to the team in Washington because theirs is more offensive. The others just have Native American imagery.
Yeah, I think the big two are the Redskins are obviously number one that people want changed, and then the Indians I think are number two. And it's funny that you mentioned the Indians because the manager Terry Francona came out and said that he thinks it's time to move on from that name. So they might be next up on the list to be looking for a name change.
Yeah, that's true. Tito Francona coming up and saying that might have been a
huge.
Oh yeah, Allison chimed in again with the Atlanta Braves had to stop their tomahawk chop, and that's something that they adopted from Deion Sanders after he came in from a college, Florida State Seminoles. So that's passed on from the college ranks. So, I mean, you're right. It is a big deal to cancel it. But I think the big thing is, like I said, it references the color of your skin.
Yeah. And that's why the Washington team, the Redskins, are the number one on people's lists of name changes that use some sort of Native American imagery. Is I mean, that there's no other team that spells it out like that. A lot of people don't necessarily think the word Indian is offensive. It's obviously wrong because Columbus thought he was landing in India and they're not Indians, but it's not as offensive as red skin. So I get where people are coming from, coming for the heat for the Washington team.
I like DC though.
Yeah, I think
DC something is a lot cooler anyway.
It makes more sense too, because if you're going to call a team Washington, you
always have that debate.
Right. Why, if you're from DC, why are you just saying Washington? Because we already have a Washington.
Exactly.
I never understood that.
Are you from DC or Washington State?
What about the Alexandria aliens?
I mean, Alexandria, Virginia, right there. I mean, I guess it works for me. I don't care. Whatever it is. I mean, I like DC though. I think they can come up with something pretty good.
Yeah, DC Defenders is dope. I thought that was, and then their logo, with like the shield and like the lightning bolts and stuff. That was just a dope team.
And I think this is a huge opportunity for a marketing firm or whoever wants to jump on board to come up with a new logo and just a whole new rebranding. And then there you go. You have a brand new thing to advertise for the fans.
And I mean, think about the immediate cash income that they're going to generate because all the fans are going to be like, well, hell yeah, I got to go buy my team's new shirt or whatever. If you were a fan of football in Washington, D.C., you're probably going to be a fan of the new named team, whatever it is.
Yep.
So why wouldn't you just grab that and go? So that's boom. $150 for jersey right there.
They'd have to do some kind of ban on jerseys. They couldn't do the name change and allow all the fans to wear Redskins jerseys in the game.
Sure.
So yeah, they would be selling jerseys. They'd sell like 100,000 jerseys in like the first week.
And I mean, maybe the owner needs to take that hit and have contests where they give away a bunch of these jerseys or something like that, so that fans that have spent money on a Haskins jersey last year don't have to turn around and cough up that amount of money to buy it with the new team colors.
Yeah, I mean, hell, take a page from MLB's book. I went to a Cardinals game recently, not that recently, but not that far away, where we got free jerseys. Like basically they had 50,000 or whatever it was, and it was first come first serve. Whenever you get to the game, you get one. they could do something like that. It doesn't have to be the authentic jersey or whatever. It can be maybe a little lesser quality so that they can afford to make 50,000 of them or whatever, but just get them out there. And I think people will embrace it.
Yep. And, like Zach said, baseball does that all the time. In fact, one of the giveaways for our 2-year anniversary episode that's coming up in August is going to be something that was given out at a ballpark, as one of those giveaways. So they do cool stuff like that. I don't know why NFL doesn't.
Yeah, Allison's a diehard Chipper Jones fan, and we used to take her. I used to take her every year. They had Chipper Jones bobblehead day, and the first time and I think she's got 3. She's gotten all 3. But one year I couldn't take her, and then somebody got her one for Christmas or something. They found one. But we used to go so she could get her Chipper Jones bobblehead every year. And I don't know. Football's never done that, man. That don't make no sense.
It's like they're more greedy or something.
I never even thought about it. But
these owners, man, I'm telling you, 2020 has let us see the financial side of a lot of these sports. And even with this preseason debate with the NFL, it all boils down to money. Owners don't want to spend it, and players don't want to play unless they're making it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. You know what it reminds me of? Y'all ever seen the movie Basketball?
Yeah.
And they were like, today's dozen egg night, and they were throwing eggs at them and stuff. Or live chicken night. I forgot what it was, man. I was dying. That's a great movie. If you're a sports fan and you haven't seen Basketballs, I suggest watching it. It's definitely worth it.
Isn't that made by the same guys who made South Park?
Yep, Matt Stone and Trey Parker. Yep,
good stuff.
Absolutely,
it's hilarious.
Guys, before we get any further along, let's talk about the struggle that we're all going through. The Nest podcast is sponsored in part by The Beard Struggle. If you've ever tried to grow a beard, then you know the struggle, but we can help you out. The Beard Struggle has tapped into centuries of Viking knowledge to inspire beard growth and overall health. Tap into your inner Viking and check out some of the great beard products available at thebeardstruggle.com. The ultimate kit comes with everything that you'll need to get your facial hair on point. You're going to get day and night elixir oils. You're going to get a scruff balm and a beard balm. You're going to get a bottle of specially formulated beard wash and conditioner. You're even going to get a special Beard Struggle brush. Guys, it's awesome. You got to check it out. That's thebeardstruggle.com. And if you use promo code NEST20 at checkout, you're going to save 20%. That's thebeardstruggle.com. Justin, you bring your balm there with you to the beach?
I got it.
Yeah.
And also, I take it with me to the gym, and over just the last week, I've let people try it, and every person that's tried it was like, send me an email again on what the name of that site is and your code. So it's definitely a hit, and I've got it here at the beach. And if I didn't, I would be struggling for real, because this salt water and sand and stuff, it's made my beard feel like it feels like a cactus or something. So I've been putting that beard oil in at night, and it's still soft as can be.
There you go. Zach, have you been using yours as well?
Yeah, it's great stuff. Yeah, it definitely, you wouldn't think that your beard hair could get soft just by using some oils, but yeah, it makes a hell of a difference. Justin, I feel like now that is the better time than any. Thanks for joining us. We're probably going to just start talking about baseball and stuff like that. And you're on vacation, so you might as well get back to it, man.
Yeah, I wanted to tell everybody, thank you so much for 100 episodes. That's insane. I'm happy I got to join in, and I started listening, and I actually came in at like episode 4 or something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I just took a little break in between there. But thank you guys. I hope we bring you 100 more, and I will catch you all on Monday.
See you, buddy.
See you, Justin. Enjoy your vacation. Justin, ladies and gentlemen, down there in the beach, enjoying some quality time with the family. I mean, I feel like that's all we've done in 2020 is spend quality time at home with the family, but
boy, have we.
Go on, enjoy yourself out there. You hit the nail on the head when you said baseball, but I do want to talk a little bit about MMA before we get into that.
Sure.
Because we're back to plan A. We're back to Masvidal Usman.
Crazy.
And that was a huge shock that came out of the 4th of July weekend. Huge change of plans whenever Gilbert Burns tested positive. And now we know that Masvidal's even cleared his COVID. So, woo, book that man a private flight out to Fight Island and lock him away, and let's get ready to bang. Does he stand a chance against Usman?
Absolutely. Yeah. Any given night, I guess, because they don't fight on Sundays. But yeah, I mean, he's a guy who came from the streets of Miami fighting like Kimbo Slice did, just for bragging rights and to maybe make a little bit of money off of YouTube. And he has made himself a championship contender in the UFC. And that's something to be proud of. Even if he doesn't win this fight on a week's notice, just the fact that he accepted the fight, flew to Abu Dhabi with a week to go is insane to me. And you got to pull for a guy who's willing to do that. I mean, this is his first title shot. It's crazy to think about that. This is how he got to the championship fight, because up until now he was bitching up and storm about how the UFC wouldn't pay him. And for whatever reason, they decided to give Gilbert Burns the title shot, even though his last fight, he was ranked 8th, I think, which giving the title shot to Gilbert Burns was questionable in my opinion anyway. But now, like you said, we're back to plan A. We're back to what makes more sense to me, at least. And that's giving the shot to Masvidal. And barring some sort of issue or a positive test, because they still have to do, I think, 3 more before actual fight day. Barring any kind of craziness, we're going to get to see it.
Yeah, and I'm all for it. It's definitely something that I'm going to be tuned into. We've got some conflicting comments. One commenter says that Masvidal is going to give him the aspirin knee, and it's actually, if you read below on the ticker, today is the anniversary of that 5-second knockout. So way to be on the ball with that comment. But another commenter says that Usman's going to fuck shit up. So I tend to agree with that. As much as I love Street Jesus, and I think he's a badass, and like you said, Zach, any given fight, he has that fighter's chance. But I just think Usman's going to be able to take him down over and over again and ultimately impose his will.
Yeah, and that's the problem with Usman, is that he is such a dominant wrestler, and I don't necessarily know what Masvidal has been working on, ground game wise, but it's definitely not on that kind of level. So that's a huge problem for him.
And we know Usman can stand and bang too, just as Colby Covington.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough one. And man, it's commendable to take it on such short notice, but I feel like if he was going to have any real chance, I think a full camp is necessary. But we'll see. The UFC and MMA in general is one of those sports where crazier things have happened. I mean, if you remember when Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor first fought, Nate was coming in to replace, I can't even remember who. Was it? I can't remember who it was. But anyway.
Was it Jose Aldo? Was it the first fight with Jose whenever he pulled out?
No, because Conor had already won that belt. I think it might have been when Conor was going to fight for the 155 belt. But anyway, I mean, Nate Diaz took this fight on a whim and people were amped for it. And he went out there and tapped out Conor McGregor. And it was spectacular because up until that point, Conor was untouchable. I mean, he KO'd Aldo in 13 seconds and was lighting the world on fire and talking trash and all this stuff. And this street kid from Stockton just choked the shit out of him. And who knows what can happen.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Masvidal does have that puncher's chance, but like I said, Usman, that's the horse that I'm betting on if I'm putting money on the line. One final piece of sad UFC news. We found out that Khabib's dad actually did pass away from the COVID complications and the additional heart problems that he was experiencing. So condolences go out to that Khabib and his family. And, we already know that it's having some implications on fights for Fight Island for the July 11th card. I think it was I can't remember the names. A couple of the fighters already pulled off from their fights, but it makes you wonder if Habib himself is going to just outright retire. He is yet to make a statement.
Yeah, and I think that speaks volumes for what he actually will end up deciding, because I don't know if you remember, but somewhere down the line he said that if he couldn't have his father in his ring, then he wouldn't, or in his corner, then he wouldn't fight. And I mean, clearly that can't happen now. And he's basically done everything that you could possibly want to do. The only thing he could do for now is keep beating people and keep making money. And if he doesn't care about doing any of that, then I don't see anything stopping him from walking away and calling it a career.
He had already said that he only wanted a couple more fights anyway. I could see him just hanging it up. Maybe he'll give Justin Gaethje the courtesy of a final fight before he retires, but I could see the end very, very soon for Habib in the fight world. He'll go back and just train killers like his dad used to do. Yes, used to be. You know, his dad's known as the father of Dagestani MMA for a reason. He's trained the majority of the Dagestan fighters that are in the UFC have come through his gyms.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that'd be a great way to just continue feeding that part of the world and, you know, making that your homeland prosper. I mean, we've said it time and time again. It's a crazy different kind of person that comes from there, and I think we're just now seeing a few fighters come out of there. Obviously, you've got Khabib, and then you've got Zabit, and who knows after that who's going to.
And there are a few more that pulled out from these upcoming cards that I mean I'd never heard of, but they were UFC fighters that had trained from Dagestan. So,
yep, you got to be legit.
I'm sure the guys over the McDojo show will be able to fill us in on more of the people that are dropping out of those cards.
Yep.
But Zach, you talked about it earlier, and I want to get into a little bit of baseball talk. And wow, where do we even start with this? We're supposed to be back. We're supposed to be getting back to spring and all this stuff, and then the Yankees just have the absolute worst first day. And Zach, we got a little clip prepared here of what exactly happened on that first day.
So this is really the first time that the Yankees are getting a chance to see Tanaka, see exactly where he's at.
So that was kind of quick, but for those of you that can't really tell, can't really see, that is Masahiro Tanaka of the New York Yankees, one of their star pitchers, one of the guys that they're really going to need to rely on this season going forward, taking 112 mile per hour line drive, hit off the bat of Giancarlo Stanton directly off the dome. Now, a lot of people are asking why he was out there and not using a screen. Well, apparently this was a simulated game and not a batting practice, is what the Yankees are saying. And you don't want to necessarily have that screen set up if you're trying to get your mechanics right as a pitcher. It's something that's in your way, something that messes up with your peripherals. So it happens. Zach, you saw it. What was your immediate reaction to that? And do you think, maybe the Yankees were being a little careless this early on?
I mean, immediate reaction was, God, I hope he doesn't have some sort of, life-threatening, career-ending injury.
Right.
And then we did find out that he really only suffered a mild concussion and was released from the hospital, I believe, the next day. So that's great. But yeah, I got to think that that's a bit careless. I mean, eventually you do have to face batters and get ready for the season, because we're in such a weird time where they had a full spring training just about, and right as the season was about to kick off, everything got canceled, and they've been sitting at home for months now. And now they have basically a month to get ready again. So I get it. You got to kind of get in the swing of things a little bit quicker. But I don't know. I don't know what they should have done. Maybe have some sort of helmet on, or I don't know what you could do. because a helmet's going to screw with your mechanics too. But I mean, man, that's not a good look to have one of your star pitchers get injured like that off of just a simulated game or whatever they're calling it.
I think the bad look of it all is just that it was so early on. It was the first day out. Pitchers get hit with line drives in regular season games all the time. I remember a game a couple years ago with Rick Porcello took one off the dome and stayed in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it happens. I'm not saying that, all guys hit as hard as Stanton does and that his injury is any, less serious than that concussion that he got or whatever, but it happens. So I think the reaction was a little bit strong from a lot of Yankee fans initially, because I heard a lot of people cussing Aaron Boone out. Twitter was on fire with Yankee fans that were outraged. But I think that was a little bit too much, because this could happen in a regular season game, and you're just going to say, "Oh well, next guy up." I mean, it sucks that he got hurt, but we got to keep the game going. So. Yep. I think baseball has much bigger problems right now, and that's the number of players that are testing positive for the coronavirus and the number of players that are opting out for the season.
Yeah. I mean, they're dropping like flies, either from positive tests or straight up opting out. And now we're starting to hear from the big boys that are big names, and they're having some doubts.
Yeah. We've already heard, like you said, some of the bigger names starting to opt out, and David Price is one of those guys. Felix Hernandez, another one. Interestingly enough, both of those guys are in their first year of their new teams. Yeah. So that's not going to win them a lot of fans, a lot of friends on the team to opt out in the first year. But today we found out, Felix is now with the Braves, and today we found out that teammate of him on the Braves, Nick Markakis, also opting out, and both of them are saying that a lot of it has to do with their teammate Freddie Freeman being so sick with the coronavirus.
Yeah, apparently he's not doing too great with it.
So if he's not so well, what if Albies, what if Acuna, what if these guys decide I'm going to opt out for a season too? Then the Braves are just sunk. That doesn't put the best product on the field.
Right. And I think this is definitely a trickle down effect. The more people that opt out, the more people are going to say, well, if he opted out, then I'm going to too.
Absolutely. And, like you said, some of the big boys, and I think we know those guys that you're talking about, your Trouts, your Harpers, your Mookie Betts, people like that are the MVPs and the highest paid guys in the league. And Trout actually sounds like he's on the fence about some stuff.
Yep.
We got that clip pulled up.
Yep, sure do.
All right, let's go ahead and listen to what Mr. Trout has to say.
I just have audio.
Oh, it's just audio? Okay.
For camp workout, baseball's biggest name, Mike Trout, took questions today and expressed concern about participating in the 2020 season. Right now, he's going to play when games are scheduled to start in 3 weeks. However, he did not rule out changing his mind, given the fact his wife is pregnant with their first child due in August.
Honestly, still don't feel comfortable. Obviously with the baby coming, there's a lot of stuff going through my mind right now, my wife's mind, my family, just trying to be the safest and most cautious way to get through a season. My mindset is to play. I want to play. It's just a tough situation. I got to play it by ear. You never know what could happen tomorrow or the next day. There's an outbreak or just a lot of questions I don't know the answers to. We want to play. It's going to come down to how safe we're going to be. If there's an outbreak or something happens, these next few weeks, you definitely got to consider. I definitely got to reconsider. There's a lot of questions. I love baseball, but I got to do what's right for my family sometimes. And, majority of the time, I got to do everything for my family. And, it's going to be a tough decision if something happens up down the road. I talked to a lot of guys across the league, and they're texting me a lot. I'm not going to name any names, but just, it's just a crazy, they're all thinking the same thing. Is this going to work? We just got to.
He hit something on the head there that I kind of thought of. If an outbreak does happen, I think players will just completely stop playing. And he seems to go that way. It sounds like he wants to play, and he probably will. But if a few people on his team do test positive, I think you see him opt out.
And that's significant because if you see the ticker at the bottom of the screen, once again, you'll see the Angels have 2 positive tests right now. So it is what it is. They had a whole testing mess up out there in Anaheim as well, to where the MLB appointed tester didn't even show up. So they had to get their test done through an outside agency or whatever. A big mess up. That's just going to make these guys even more weary of the process. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. I know the Braves had 4 total cases, Freddie Freeman being the serious one there, which we already talked about a little bit. My Red Sox had a couple cases, most notably Darwinson Hernandez. He's the guy that's kind of slated to be our version of Aroldis Chapman or Jordan Hicks or whatever.
Sure.
A guy that can come and throw 105 miles per hour from the left side. So pretty nasty.
Cardinals had 2 players test positive. The only one that I knew by name was Genesis Cabrera, and he's a relief pitcher. So no one big yet, but I mean, we still have months and months to go, and who knows what's going to happen. Do you have any details on how the testing goes? Like, are they getting tested every day? Do they get tested only when they show up for practice or whatever?
Yeah, I'm not sure about all that. I do know some of the guys are still outside of the country that have gotten tested and they're awaiting results. They haven't even reported. Some guys have even tested positive after they were already in the clubhouse and already interacting with the other guys when they had tested negative the first time.
Yep.
So, I mean, to your point earlier, an outbreak is pretty likely to happen. And if guys like Trout, who have a baby due next month, want to opt out, and I mean, think about if his baby decides to just be born a month early, I doubt he's going to be like, yeah, just sign me up. I'm going to miss seeing my kid for the first few months of their lives.
Yeah. Crazy stuff. And I wonder what the protocol is for MLB, because I think something tells me that it's flawed. I mean, you mentioned that the tester didn't even show up, and I don't think they're ready for all this stuff. And I think if they don't handle it right, then it's inevitable that something bad is going to happen with some sort of outbreak.
Zach, there's a reason that I wore this shirt tonight specifically, because MLB is a shit show for the 2020 season. Their popular video game franchise is MLB The Show. This season, they are a shit show. So it's insane how crazy it's been from the initial beginnings when COVID started happening, to the contract disputes, to now the health and safety issues with players opting out left and right. I still am not convinced we're going to see baseball. Until I hear play ball and see baseball on my TV, I won't believe it. We may not even get a real version of the sport. We players. I've heard that Nashville, Tennessee has been floated as kind of like a Band-Aid city, where they're going to keep 2 teams basically of extras.
Wow.
That the MLB teams can draw from. We talked about that a little bit with the NFL having those extra teams that they can draw from. Yep. MLB's the same thing. They want to have these guys ready and in shape, ready to pick up a bat and ready to be on a big league roster at a moment's notice. Sign me up. Where do I go?
Yep.
I'm ready, coach. Put me in.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, the earliest that I can see Cardinals baseball is slated to be July 24th against the Pirates. And like you said, until that day comes and I hear play ball, it's all up in the air, because anything can happen. I mean, we might not even get to that point. Right. Who knows? And what's funny is, you mentioned that some players are out of the country awaiting tests and everything. Well, Andrew Miller is a relief pitcher for the Cardinals, and apparently he lives in Florida. And he decided to come to St. Louis early because I guess Florida is having an uptick in cases and stuff like that, and he kind of wanted to get away from the impending doom of COVID, and so he showed up here, and I guess he's just been waiting here for the season to kick off. So I thought that was a pretty interesting idea for him to do that.
Yeah, that was an interesting approach, and it seems to have paid off because Florida is one of those hotbed states. So good on him. You know, it's going to be interesting because what if one of these guys, they happen to test positive and they have to quarantine for 14 days in a 60-game season? They're going to be playing about 12 games in a 14-day span. So that's a lot of games that these guys might miss.
Absolutely.
I could see the season starting, and then after the first few weeks of these superstar players missing 2 weeks of time, they just say, yeah, I'm not even coming back. This isn't even worth it. You know, David Price said that they had to wake up and spit in a cup like 12 times before they can even drink water. And they do this kind of rigorous like testing so they can get, you know, allegedly same day result testings and all this stuff. So a lot of these guys that have their millions already, they're like, fuck it, I don't want to do all that bullshit. Yeah. I've got better things to do with my time than to jump through hoops for you guys.
Right.
The guys that are going to be playing are the guys that need the money. They haven't hit their nest egg yet. And guys like me who are just ready, got a bat in hand and we are ready.
Yep. Yeah. It's going to be a wild ride. I think for the sports world in general, because, you know, everyone just assumes that NFL is going to kick off and that it's going to just be fine, but they have the same issues as everybody else.
And the NBA, are they even going to get going again? They're kind of in their bubble in Orlando or going to their bubble, but they're concerns that it may not even get going.
Oh yeah. And I mean, players have also already voiced concerns about that. You know, they're going to be trapped in these hotels. And then if an outbreak happens in this hotel, it's going to run rampant because everyone's stuck there.
Yep.
There's no, you know, perfect plan, but it's going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds. I mean, I think the NBA probably has the best likelihood to finish everything off because they basically just are going straight into their playoffs and going to finish it out quickly. But the MLB has to try to make some crazy short season happen. And then NFL has to just, I guess they're just going to try to do their whole season minus their preseason. So it's crazy. It's crazy times. And it's been like this for months now.
Yeah, no, it has. And I don't see an end in sight, to be honest.
Nope.
NBA 2K released their cover athletes. Were you surprised by them?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very surprised to see that. I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but they announced a few players before they announced Kobe. And I kind of figured that Kobe would take kind of a forefront this year because obviously he passed and that was a huge hit to just the sports community as a whole. So I kind of figured that they would, you know, give him a bit.
Oh, not quite sure what happened there. Zach got kicked out. Hopefully he can join back in. Oops, my bad. I think what he was saying was that, you know, Kobe kind of should have taken the forefront of that because he passed and all that, but they ended up giving it to Zion instead. Zach, you back? Sorry about that.
Yeah, StreamYard freaked out on us, but yeah. So Zion was one of the big ones that they announced first, and I was struck by that because I mean, sure, he's a huge name and he's made a big name for himself, and he's obviously got huge amounts of talent, but I gotta say, at least in my mind, you gotta save that for someone who's actually proven themselves and done something with their NBA career. I mean, maybe they'll be able to pull off something this year and win this weird championship, this 2020, you know, break in the season and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think the 2K series is just jumping on this hype train like everyone else is and just cashing in on the fan base going crazy for this guy.
Well, and that's what it is, Zach, right there, is I think that the only people that are going to buy that copy are the New Orleans Pelicans fans. because everybody else is going to shell out that 10, 20 extra bucks to get the Kobe edition. And I think NBA 2K knew that. They knew that they were going to be able to get a little bit extra out of people by doing it that way. And I think that's pretty sick. Another thing that I think is pretty sick about it is they're not going to use the technology that's available so that if you buy it on Xbox One, that you could then transfer it over to the new Xbox. That you would basically have to buy it again on the new console whenever you upgrade. And I think that's kind of crap too.
Yeah. I've heard also, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard a rumor that that 2K is going to be more expensive on the next generation as well for whatever reason. And I think that's crap. Yeah. I mean, Microsoft came out with this just system, I guess, of game developers are able to allow people to just basically get a free copy of their game if they do upgrade. And I mean, as popular as NBA 2K is, you wouldn't think that they'd be hurting for the money. So I don't understand this move at all.
I don't either. I think it kind of alienates their fan base a little bit, and it just looks bad. And it definitely, kind of makes it look like they're trying to profit off of Kobe's death. And that rubs me the wrong way too.
Yeah. I don't like that either. And I don't like that they didn't do him first. I mean, clearly we all know who the top contenders for the current players to make a cover are.
Right.
That's obvious to us, but we all were saying, soon after Kobe died, we all said he better be on the cover of 2K this year. And they kind of waited around to do that. And they said, oh yeah, he's on this cover and it's the extra one. And you're going to have to pay us more for the Kobe version. Don't like it at all.
I don't like it at all. Bad taste. All right, guys, this has been episode number 100. We thank every one of you for listening to all 100 of these episodes. We know you've listened to them all. So we appreciate that. And we look forward to delivering 100 more and then some. Zach, it's been a pleasure. Tune in every Monday night when you can catch weekly installments. If you have to listen on the go, we will put the links in the comments so that you can get it on iTunes, Spotify, all those good places, and you'll be able to hear us right there on your handheld mobile device. We appreciate all of you. Thanks for listening. Peace.
Thanks for listening. New episodes are recorded every week.